We have two lead stories tonight. First, the White House now says that President Trump believes he has the power to fire the man running the Russia investigation, Special Counsel Robert Mueller. That follows an FBI raid on a member of the Trump's inner circle, his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. It was based on information from Mueller's team. We'll have a full report after the news summary. Meanwhile, the head of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, says his company is working with the special counsel's probe of Russian election meddling. That was one of a range of issues raised as Zuckerberg faced off with 44 members of the United States Senate today. Our Lisa Desjardins begins our coverage.
For the social media maverick who's often behind the scenes, a very public lesson in scrutiny as lawmakers grilled Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg with questions.
Why should we trust Facebook?
I believe you have all the talent. My question is whether you have all the will.
How can American consumers trust folks like your company to be caretakers of their most personal and identifiable information?
The CEO of one of the internet's most dominant companies began with an apology.
We didn't take a broad enough view of our responsibility, and that was a big mistake. And it was my mistake, and I'm sorry. I started Facebook, I run it, and I'm responsible for what happens here.
This 1 week after Facebook revealed up to 87 million users' personal information was improperly accessed by Cambridge Analytica, a political consulting firm hired by the Trump campaign in 2016. Cambridge Analytica then used that data to direct Trump campaign content toward individual users. Facebook admits it knew about that kind of data harvesting for at least 2 years, but only addressed it last month. Today's rare joint hearing by the Senate Judiciary and Commerce Committees was just one sign of the fury over the revelations. Zuckerberg's message? His company is changing.
We need to take a more proactive role and a broader view of our responsibility. It's not enough to just build tools. We need to make sure that they're used for good. At the end of the day, this is going to be something where people will measure us by our results.
But that didn't satisfy senators. Bill Nelson, a Democrat from Florida, pressed Zuckerberg about why Facebook waited years to tell users about the Cambridge Analytica breach.
You apologize for it, but you didn't notify them. Do you think that you have an ethical obligation to notify 87 million Facebook users?
We considered it a closed case. In retrospect, that was clearly a mistake.
Did anybody notify the FTC?
No, Senator.
Some also honed in on repeated mistakes and apologies by Facebook over the years. Commerce Committee Chairman John Thune.
After more than a decade of promises to do better, how is today's apology different?
So we have made a lot of mistakes in running the company. I think it's pretty much impossible, I believe, to start a company in your dorm room and then grow it to be at the scale that we're at now without making some mistakes.
Other senators, like Minnesota's Amy Klobuchar, pushed for specific fixes.
Would you support a rule that would require you to notify your users of a breach within 72 hours?
Senator, that makes sense to me.
This as Klobuchar and others push something called the Honest Ads Act, one of a long line of bills now focused on digital platforms like Facebook. It requires those companies to make sure no foreign interests can post campaign ads and that the public be able to see who is behind every election ad. Facebook says it's doing that now and more, launching easier ways for users to block access to their information and promising to restrict how much data any outside company can access. But as Facebook tried to look forward, senators pointed back. Connecticut's Richard Blumenthal asked about Facebook's deal with Alexander Kogan, whose app gave Cambridge Analytica its access.
I want to show you the terms of service that Alexander Kogan provided to Facebook. And note for you that, in fact, Facebook was on notice that he could sell that user information. Have you seen these terms of service before?
I have not.
Who in Facebook was responsible for seeing those terms of service that put you on notice that that information could be sold?
Senator, our app review team would be responsible for that.
Has
And-
anyone been fired on that app review team?
Senator, not because of this.
Illinois Senator Dick Durbin asked about Zuckerberg's privacy.
Would you be comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
No.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
Zuckerberg was twice pressed on whether Facebook tracks users across devices and after they leave the platform. He hesitated to answer.
There have been reports that Facebook can track a user's internet browsing activity even after that user has logged off of the Facebook platform. Can you confirm whether or not this is true?
Senator, I want to make sure I get this accurate, so it would probably be better to have my team follow up
So you don't know?
afterwards. I know that people use cookies on the internet, and that you can probably correlate activity between sessions.
Zuckerberg gave more specifics on a different topic, the threat from Russia. Facebook has said that Russians sent fake campaign ads to more than 100 million Facebook users in 2016.
What is Facebook doing to prevent foreign actors from interfering in U.S. elections?
This is one of my top priorities in 2018, is to get this right. One of my greatest regrets in running the company is that we were slow in identifying the Russian information operations in 2016. We expected them to do a number of more traditional cyber attacks, which we did identify and notify the campaigns that they were trying to hack into them, but we were slow at identifying the type of new information operations.
Zuckerberg was also pressed on if his company feeds global crisis. The UN and human rights groups accused Facebook of allowing hateful anti-Muslim videos and other posts that facilitated violence against Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar.
What's happening in Myanmar is a terrible tragedy, and we need to do more.
We all agree with that.
Okay.
But UN investigators have blamed, you blame Facebook for playing a role in the genocide. We all agree it's terrible. How can you dedicate, and will you dedicate, the resources to make sure such hate speech is taken down within 24 hours?
One is we're hiring dozens of more Burmese language content reviewers, because hate speech is very language specific. It's hard to do it without people who speak the local language.
As the hearing ran into the evening, one theme was constant: Facebook's power and how it handles that power. Zuckerberg will be in Washington at least one more night. He testifies before a House committee tomorrow. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.